Central and streaming on Paramount Plus. Live from Augusta, we're watching News 1226 at 11.
And welcome in. I am Courtney Hicks. We appreciate you joining us tonight. And we now know the fate of the Homestead Exemption Act in Columbia County and the city of Grovetown. With that, let's bring in your Kennedy Payne, who joins us live from the newsroom. And Kennedy, you were in the Columbia County Commissioners meeting as those votes were cast today, and commissioners chose to opt out. So with that, what is next, and how do you think residents feel about it?
Yeah, well, Columbia County Commissioners unanimously voted to opt out of House Bill 581. We spoke with Chairman Doug Duncan about what this means for the future of Columbia County, and more specifically, what this means for homeowners. A controversial bill.
We have opted out, but our focus is to come up with our own homestead floating exemption to have in place for this tax year.
Some people weren't happy about the decision.
You had a solution here that you could adopt.
This was not a good solution.
The problem is you don't want to give up power.
Doug Duncan is the Columbia County chairman. He says it wasn't an easy decision.
We just really had a deep dive. How's it going to impact Columbia County in 20 years, not what somebody's going to feel in the next 30 days.
Duncan says the main thing is how this affects the county long term.
We'd be in for 50 years. Who knows what'll change in the legislature before the end of this session and even next year.
And he says it matters who has control.
So we prefer to have the local control instead of state control.
He says the public meetings have been helpful.
We actually had a resident come to our second hearing. He talked about Proposition 13 in California, and basically this bill comes very close to mirroring that. It capped the property values, I believe, at 2%.
Duncan says the outcome in California is what they're trying to avoid for Columbia County homeowners.
You had someone maybe with a $200,000 home in Palisades, which is now burned, and that property value just stayed the same all these years. And basically what it did was transfer the increased cost, one, that the state had to pay for local government, but then also the value of the homes went through the roof. So now a house that maybe you would buy in Montclair, here in California, maybe $3 or $4 million. And Proposition 13 had a large part in that.
And he says had they opted in, it could have affected key parts of the county.
But if you remember, when the fires burned, the big outcry was the fire department was not funded. Well, that's part of the local taxes. The property tax funds the fire department. So they didn't have the money to fund their fire department. They couldn't stop the fire.
And Duncan says they plan to have their own floating homestead exemption in place by the time tax bills go out this year, which would be May.
A lot of emotion, a lot of complicated issues to understand with this exemption. Thanks so much, Kennedy, for the clarity tonight. We appreciate you. All right, the city of Grovetown also voted to opt out of the exemption. That meeting was live streamed on the city's Facebook page. The Columbia County Board of Education voted to opt out earlier this month with the understanding that leaders will create their own version of the exemption. And to weather now, as we bring in Frank McHill will stand by. Thank you. Just a sad, unfortunate update to a heartbreaking story we are still following from earlier this week. Tonight, the Aiken County Coroner's Office confirms a third child has died from injuries caused by a house fire in Gloverville. The fire happened Monday morning on Pine Street with 4 children and their mother being taken to the hospital. A 6-year-old girl and her 8-year-old sister died earlier this week. The cause of the fire is still under investigation. And the Richmond County Sheriff's Office says deputies are at the Family Dollar on Mike Paget Highway investigating an armed robbery. Officials say they are searching for a black male wearing a white hoodie and black mask. He is said to be armed. If you have any information, you can call the Richmond County Sheriff's Office. And new at 11, Wrdw fire crews battled a large brush fire for about 2 hours this evening. The Wrdw Fire Department says the blaze around a golf course road cleared just an hour ago. Langley and Sage Mill Fire Departments helped out along with the South Carolina State Forestry Service. And around the nation, there have been protests in response. And if you are still in need of in-person FEMA assistance, you have until tomorrow before the Disaster Recovery Center in Richmond County closes permanently. The center, located in the Diamond Lakes Branch Library, will open at 9 a.m. and close at 5:30. After that, you can go online to disasterassistance.gov. You can use the FEMA app or call the FEMA helpline as well. FEMA officials are also reminding Georgians to expect a phone call from an unknown number as FEMA is conducting follow-up calls to those who applied for education on their accomplishments. We heard from the director who spoke about the organization's growth.
We're created to help downtown businesses work together and have a better connection with the local government. We started with one event, and we've grown to this last year having 7. We hope to get bigger and bigger in this next year.
Indeed, Downtown Seoul City says they are looking to hold even more events this year. Mikhail?
Well, we are looking at beautiful conditions for your Friday. Less wind, still decent temperatures. We'll talk about that, your outlook for this weekend, and look ahead towards next week coming up.
When you visit or work with Parker's Kitchen, your support makes a difference. You've helped us rank as Best Workplace in America. None of this happens without you.
Thank you. The Savannah Riverkeeper.
Welcome back. Tensions were very high at the South Carolina State House today for a much anticipated hearing on the state's ongoing $1.8 billion debacle. State House reporter Mary Green has been following the story from the start and has all of the drama.
For more than a year now, a Senate subcommittee has been investigating what was initially thought to be a mystery $1.8 billion surplus. An independent audit released last month found that money doesn't actually exist and was really an accounting error. On Thursday, senators heard for the first time since that report's release from one of the key players involved, the state treasurer.
Did you do anything wrong? What kind of question is that? I've been in office 15 years, and this is an 8-year-old that asked me something specifically.
Did you do anything wrong?
I don't know how to answer that. Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's how Treasurer Curtis Loftus's 2.5 hours of testimony under oath before a Senate Finance Subcommittee got started Thursday. The independent report found that the Treasurer's Office, Comptroller General's Office, and State Auditor's Office all knew about the accounting error that happened about a decade ago when the state converted from one accounting system to another. But no one told lawmakers about it until late 2022, and the error remains on the state's books. Loftus repeatedly said Thursday he's not blaming anyone, but repeatedly pointed the finger at the Comptroller General.
So what did you do wrong in that situation, Mr. Treasurer?
I trusted the Comptroller General. That was the biggest mistake I ever made in my life.
Throughout the hearing, an attorney from the Treasurer's Office conferred with Loftus and passed him notes inscribed with words like calm during particularly heated moments. Tensions peaked early on as the attorney himself tried to answer questions directed to the Treasurer, and Senator Larry Grooms, the subcommittee's chair, threatened to have security remove the attorney if he wouldn't also be sworn in.
If the gentleman attempts to address the committee, I would ask that you remove him.
Ultimately, that didn't happen, but voices were raised several times as senators and the treasurer spoke over each other.
We just spent $3 million to find out my book's balanced. My book's balanced. It's the Comptroller's book's
$3
balanced.
billion.
The Treasurer's Office balanced.
1.8.
Loftus's answers were sometimes unclear to questions like when he knew about the error and why he told senators last year that the non-existent $1.8 billion was so real they could touch it. But the treasurer was clear in criticizing senators for doing this work over the last few years in front of the public and the press, claiming it's drawn attention that could hurt the state's financial standing and credit rating.
You trash me from one end of this state to the other, and I don't like it. And I'm trying to be as honorable as I can, but you make it difficult. These are serious issues.
It shouldn't be difficult.
These are
to
serious
be
issues.
honorable.
Well, then ask the question.
This is dirty laundry. No one likes to air dirty laundry. But man, this stuff's got to get clean. And the notion that we shouldn't be asking questions, that there shouldn't be an inquiry, that's just absolutely ridiculous.
After the meeting, Grooms told reporters it reaffirmed his belief Loftus needs to resign or be removed from office.
The treasurer has great ownership into our financial problems, and I believe he needs to go.
Grooms says as soon as next week, he hopes to have a draft report with findings and recommendations ready for the rest of his subcommittee to review. Once that report is finalized, it'll be presented to the rest of the Senate and available for the public. Reporting Columbia, I'm Mary Green.
And we thank Mary for covering that meeting today. Since the release of that report last month, the governor and lawmakers confirmed publicly for the first time that South Carolina has been and still is under a federal investigation because of these financial discrepancies. And take a look at this scary scene as a bus is covered in flames this morning in Cleveland Heights, Ohio. That is right outside of Cleveland. There is good news, though, as all of the children on board were able to escape unharmed. That's thanks to the bus driver. The bus bus driver is being praised for acting quickly to help get all 15 middle school students off the bus, and a neighbor even spoke about seeing the fire break out.
I woke up this morning and I saw the girl waiting for the bus. 2 to 3 minutes later, I heard a big boom. Looked out the window and I saw fire coming from the gas tank. After about 5 minutes, it was all engulfed in flame, and it was just unbelievable. The pictures, the black smoke that was coming out was just so hard to believe.
Indeed, fire crews were able to quickly put that fire out, and once again, big ups to that bus driver for thinking quickly, as all of those students are safe tonight. And we'll be right back with sports. Stay with us.
Platt's Funeral Home